The biblical land isn't in Utah, and every time I hear that claim, it sounds like someone opened a Bible, ignored the map, ignored the tribes, ignored Jerusalem, ignored Zion, ignored Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, and pointed at America because it made them feel special. So let me say this plainly. The land is not in Utah. It's not in the United States. So let's stop pretending like this is some deep hidden mystery that only the enlightened found after staring at mountains in America. It's stupid because the Bible doesn't talk about the land like it's some vague spiritual feeling you can relocate to whatever place fits your fantasy. The land has boundaries. The land has neighboring nations, tribal allotments. The land has Jerusalem, Zion, Samaria, Hebron, Bethlehem. The land has Egypt below it, Lebanon above it, Assyria and Babylon to the east in the larger prophetic world. And that's not Utah. Sorry. Utah doesn't become the land because somebody likes red rock, desert scenery, or thinks America has a secret role in everything. The Bible isn't a narcissism machine. It doesn't exist so every later nation can project itself into Israel's geography. When Scripture says the land, it's speaking about the covenant land tied to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the tribes, Jerusalem, the temple, and the covenant storyline that runs through Torah, the prophets, Yahusha, and Revelation. That geography isn't random. It's part of the covenant structure. So when someone says the land is actually in Utah, what they're really doing is this. They're severing the text from its actual world. They're erasing the covenant map. They're uprooting Israel from Israel. And then they're replacing scripture with fantasy dressed up like revelation. And that's not insight. That's delusion with a Bible verse attached. And think about how dumb the claim really is. So Egypt is what now? Nevada. Babylon is Colorado. Jerusalem is in Utah. Zion moved to America. The tribes got relocated with no text ever saying so. The prophets spent all that time naming real lands, real cities, real enemies, real routes, real exiles, real returns, and somehow the answer was secretly Salt Lake in Canyon County. Come on. At some point, this stops being interpretation and becomes fan fiction. The land matters because covenant isn't floating in space. It's tied to place, people, inheritance, judgment, exile, and restoration. And that's why Torah names the land. That's why Joshua divides the land. And that's why the prophets speak of the land. That's why Yahusha walks in that land. And that's why Jerusalem still matters in the text, because it's in that land. And you don't get to rip all that out, slap Utah on it, and call yourself deep in study, because that's not deep, that's lazy and arrogant. And it always comes from the same root problem. People want scripture to resolve around them, their nation, their tribe, their theory, their special discovery, and their secret little map that nobody else saw. But the text already gave the map, and Utah isn't it. And that's exactly why I built the course that I did, because most people don't know how to read scripture structurally. They don't know how covenant, land, tribes, temple, prophecy, and Yahusha all lock together. So they end up chasing wild claims that sound exciting because they have no framework to test them. So inside the course, I break all that down. I walked through the Yahusha Codex, the covenant architecture, the authority structure, and the deeper framework that keeps people from drifting into imaginative nonsense every time they hear a dramatic theory online. So if you're tired of fake maps, revelations, rootless prophecy claims, and people relocating the Bible to whatever flatters them the most, get in the course at school.com/undeniable truths, because the land isn't in Utah, and pretending otherwise just proves you're reading fantasy into the text instead of reading the text on its own terms.